Good morning and welcome to Little by Little, a short time in God's Word. It's Friday and just want to remind you that Sunday we have church where we gather together to worship Jesus at 8:30 and 10:30 at Calvary Chapel, Port Angeles. You can find out the directions on calvarypa.org. We'd love to see you there in person if possible. If not, we are streaming online at the 10:30 service. Join with me now as we turn back to Matthew chapter 25. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. At midnight there was a cry, "Here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the wise answered, saying, "Since there will be not enough for us and for you, go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves." While they were going to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was shut. Afterward the other virgins came also, saying, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he answered, "Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his ability. And then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went out at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of these servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, "Master, you delivered to me 5 talents, but I have made 5 talents more." His master said to him, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master." And he also, who had the 2 talents, came forward, saying, "Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more." His master said to him, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master." He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward, saying, "Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you gathered no seed. But so I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what is yours." But the master answered him, "You wicked and slothful servant. You know that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." It's a very simple parable, one that requires little from us in terms of trying to figure it out for the most part. The end result of our lives as Christians, the goal, the purpose towards which we move is, well, it's heaven, but it's also then to hear Jesus say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your master." How do you hear that? Well, doing what is implied here. Taking what you've been given, being faithful to walk it out in a way that allows the gifts and abilities that God has given you to shine, to multiply, to keep growing in you. Right? If you only get 2 talents, work with that. If you only have 1, work with that. It's doing what is implied here, being faithful with the gifts and the abilities God gives. It's not "well done, successful servant," or imaginative or rich, but faithful. Right? So the point isn't that the 5 made 5 more, or the 2, it's each with what they had was faithful. The confusion and problem for us comes in the last few verses here, verses 26 to 30. We see that in these verses, the master is not too pleased with this last servant. He's called wicked and slothful. We would use the term lazy. He didn't have the proper fear of the master to do what was needed and right. So he's cast into outer darkness, into hell, because his lack of faithfulness, well, it demonstrated a lack of faith. He wasn't really a servant of God. Are you ready for the return of Jesus? Be about his business this day. Take the gifts and abilities he's given to you, surrender them back for his use to be multiplied in a way that you can't do, but he can do, so that you will hear, well done, good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of the master. Till next time, I'm Nero Bado.